Hello learners, I am Dr. Usha Rana, Associate Professor, School of Gender and Development Studies. Today we will discuss about the local self-government budgets which comes under the MGSE 002. After this session, we will able to understand, define the gender budgeting, discuss the significance of gender budgeting, explain the functions and the compositions of gender budget cells, analyze the gender budgeting in urban local bodies, examine the revenue generation in the local bodies and analyze the role of elected representatives in the gender budgeting process. What is gender budgeting? Or we will introduce about that. The gender budgeting integrates a gender perspective into all stages of budgeting, policy review, planning, allocation, implementation and valuation. It ensures that the government spending address gender disparities. It's not a separate budget for the women but analyze how the budgets impact genders differently. Its goal is a better targeted public spending and minimizing adverse gender specific effect of past measures. So now in detail, what is gender budgeting? Gender budgeting is a strategy to evaluate how the government revenue and spending impact women. It involves analyzing the budget through a gender lens to ensure that women's needs are recognized and addressed across sectors. Gender budgeting is not about the formulating a separate budget for women but emphasizes the need for targeted measures and allocations to promote gender equality. The approach is rooted in the understanding that women have historically faced social and economic exclusion. To correct the imbalance, gender budgeting advocates for increased and focused investment to create a supportive environment for the women empowerment. It aims to make policies more inclusive and responsive to gender disparities, ensuring that gender benefit equally from the public resources and development efforts. Ultimately, gender budgeting helps in building a more just and equitable society by making governance more accountable to the need of all genders. Now the question is why gender budgeting is important. So we can say gender budgeting is an important tool that helps ensure government policy and spending are fair and inclusive. It looks at how public money affects men and women differently and work to fix any imbalance. Idea gains global support affects the 1995 Beijing Conference, which called for the gender perspective in all economic decisions. Later, the UN and the Commonwealth meeting also encouraged countries to include gender in national planning. In India, gender budgeting cells were created in various ministries to promote a gender responsive budgeting. These cells helped shape policies and programs that reduce gender gap and promote equality. So, gender budgeting does not create separate budget for the women but examines existing budget to see if they meet the specific needs of both women and men. The main goal is to make sure public resources are used in a way that supports equal development, fair opportunities and improve outcome for all genders. Now, compositions of gender budgeting cell. So gender budget cell should include the senior or the middle level officers from the plan, policy coordination, budget and account divisions led by a joint secretaries or above. Their work should be reviewed quarterly by the senior officer. Key functions of gender budgeting cell: identify 3 to 6 major schemes for gender analysis using disaggregated data, setting output indicators and reviving policy effectiveness in promoting a gender equality, including gender budgeting. Analyze the ministry's outcome performance budgets, conducting a performance audit to assess the field level implication and suggest improvements, holding consultation with related department, civil society and NGOs, organizing training and sensitizing program, reviving gender neutral sector like defense, telecom, etc. to find inclusion opportunity, sharing a best practices within department, preparing a chapter on gender perspective for the ministry's budget document. Now, gender budgeting and urban local bodies. Understanding how the microeconomic policies and budget at the union, state and the Panchayati Raj levels affects women is important, especially in the context of reforms and globalization. Gender sensitive budget help target spending better and reduce inequality. The gender budget initiative provides a tool to include a gender in budgeting and policy making. Gender can support or limit women's development depending on how funds are allocated. In municipalities, the account superintendents present income and expenditure reports in December and council cannot change committed fund. The income source include government allocation, local tax like water and electricity and finance commission grants. What is gender concern in all bodies? So we will understand how the gender concern about all arena of work. For the past several years, gender economists and the women's group have focused on involving women in economic decision making, linking economic and political governance and ensuring elected women representative can take part in the budget process. Tools like a participatory appraisal and the focus group discussion have helped identify the gender specific needs and concern. A gender audit of a municipal budget and analyze the trends before and after the 1991 structural adjustment program revealed that budget cuts in a public distribution system like a healthcare, transport, child care have disproportionality effect to poor women. To address this, gender sensitive budgeting cell for municipal bodies to reprioritize the spendings. Key focus areas include affordable housing for the single or widows women, public toilet, working women's hostel, health services, nutrition program, skill training, clean drinking water, safe public transports, electrification, waste management and support center for elderly or mentally unwell women. So, method 2 of revenue generation, how the local governments can generate their revenue. There is one example from the Maharashtra government. The government Maharashtra has issued the GRN mandating that 5% of total revenue be allocated for the women and children, the urban local self-governance, and can also increase revenue through the higher tax on tobacco, alcohol, private vehicle and the entertainment sector. Fines from the environmental damage, speeding and the traffic violation like a green tax can also support the welfare schemes. Education fees and other indirect taxes have also boosted local self-governance fund. Urban local self-governance should organize a meeting involving elected women representatives, government officials, NGOs, self-help groups to discuss and identify needs and suggest solutions. Civil society must be involved in reviewing data and proposing budget allocations. Subcommittees should include all vulnerable stakeholders and present reports by EWR's women's group are now actively discussing microeconomic issues such as drinking water, health centers and sanitation. Organizations like Anandi, Alohana and Action India are training women in budgeting and advocacy. Their goal is to ensure fair allocation of the support. There are other governments, other state government also increasing their budget for the gender specific for the women, and like a government of Madhya Pradesh, government of Gujarat also working towards that. Gender budgeting in urban local self-governance bodies. Gender budgeting requires analyzing how the public spending affects men and women differently across sectors like education, health, nutrition and safety. It emphasizes reviewing equal opportunities policies in jobs, wages, healthcare, education and skill training. In Panchayat budgets, the NIP FP budgets classify scheme as women specific schemes, 100% of fund for the women. Pro women scheme, at least 30% of benefits for the women. Gender neutral scheme, benefit entire communities, and residual scheme to disaster management efforts. The all LSGs, local self-government, educates local representatives on these categories and budgeting techniques. It promotes budgeting from low and effective planning. Proactive and the welfare schemes include the crisis support for women through shelter home and short stay home, pensions and rehabilitations for the violence survivor. There are a few case studies we will discussing how the local governance and local bodies, schools are learning to make their budget. Now this is about the pupils' participation in budgeting the high school for girls. So budgetary allocation for the economic services to provide the economic opportunities to the women, self-help groups credit loans to the self-employed women, training program, vocation training in sunrise sector, biotechnology, IT, etc., physical infrastructure, transport, energy, urban housing, 10% reserve flat, 10 means for the single women, marketing facilities for the women, entrepreneurs, self-employed women, 10% of the shops reserved for the business women, women vendors, tenders in the municipal market, women's hut and bazaar, public toilets for women without user fee, safe and effective transport for the working women and women vendors. Another case study, there we can see the housing for the poor female headed, the budgetary allocation for the regulatory services to put in the place of institutional structure and mechanism. State Commission for the Women, Municipal Commission for the Women, Women Development Cell in the municipal bodies, budgetary allocation and the space for the work-wise prevention sexual harassment of the women in the organized and unorganized sector, women cell at the police station, local self-government bodies, officers, municipal hospital and school awareness generation program. Another case study is about the halfway to home for the elderly women, budgetary allocation for the social service, expenditure for the capacity building, reduction of the domestic dormitory and the better quality of life for the girls and women, education, health, crèche, working women hostel, housing, nutrition, water supply, sanitation, toilet and drainage, fuel, waste management and transport. This way we can make how the budgetary requirement for the women well-being in the all stage, from the school girls, from the elderly women or others. Financial matters and Panchayati Raj institutes. How the Panchayati Raj institutes work and deal with the financial matter, especially concern of the gender issues. Elected representatives, ward officials and NGO must act to facilitate in planning for the area development and social justice. Women elected representatives need to empower to address strategies, gender need, not just practical ones, special provision in education, health and skill development program should target women and girls with disaggregated allocation and the safeguard against the fund diversion. Budget and the powerful tools for the gender equity and the must reflect the gender sensitive priorities to reduce economic inequality. Participatory budgeting approach such as bottom up and the pro women budgeting should be encouraged. The training decision making, enhancing transparency through RTI and recognizing the unpaid care economy and crucial to transforming the micro policy into inclusive women friendly framework. Role of elected members for the gender budgeting. There, the national strategies for the urban poor is joint project of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation and the UNDP to reduce the urban poverty and promote sustainable livelihood. It supports research, policy, dialogue, best practice sharing, grassroots work through the NGOs and community group. NSUP is now linked with the schemes like JNURM, BSUP and IHSDP, focusing on the infrastructure and the basic services for the urban poor. JNURM promotes the reform-driven urban development with community participation and accountability. One key reform includes embarkable funds in the local budget for the urban poor. MOHUPA is also promoting a gender budgeting to ensure women's needs are addressing in urban planning. This aligns with the Finance Ministry's guidance on the gender budgeting introduced in 2005, aiming for the fair and equal public resources allocation. Gender budgeting is now widely accepted as a vital tool for inclusive microeconomic planning. Now we will discuss about the gender budgeting and the urban poor. Budget affects men and women differently due to existing social and economic inequality. Traditional budgets are often seen as a gender neutral, assuming the equal impact on everyone. However, this overlooks the specific need of women. Gender budgeting recognize these differences and aims to address them by focusing on women's requirement to promote equality. It is not separate budget for women or only about the funding women specific scheme. Instead, it involves the reprioritizing the public spending and the revenue to reflect the women's concern. Gender budgeting is a long-term approach involving the gender-sensitive analysis of budgets to ensure fair outcome. Over time, it leads to the gender-responsive budget, also known as a gender-sensitive or women's budgets, term often used interchangeably. Gender inequality in urban areas can be reduced. This is a question how the local bodies can work to reduce gender inequality in urban space. For this, investing in physical and social infrastructure is essential for the reducing the time and safety burdens faced by the women and girls, especially in the area like transport, water, sanitation and energy. These services are critical to erasing women's unpaid care work and lowering the risk of the gender-based violence. Investment in the public health, education and skill development also help to promote a gender equality and long-term economic equality. Guaranteeing the property and the inheritance right of women offers security, access to credit and protection during crisis. Women's ownership of a land or the housing is linked to reduce poverty, domestic violence and better health outcome, including the women in the planning, design and the operation of infrastructure ensure the projects meet their need and they remain sustainable. As both primary users and contributors to community space, women play a vital role in urban planning. Their voice are essential in shaping a housing, water and sanitation systems that directly impact their daily lives. Now, budget and the rural local governance. The 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act was introduced to strengthen panchayat as instruments of good governance and grassroots development. It aims to promote democratic decentralization, empowering local bodies and the ordinary citizens to actively participate in the planning and implementation of economic development and social justice. Key provisions include the preparation of local development plans, implementation of welfare schemes and defining powers of the Gram Sabha, conducting regular panchayat election and reserving 1/3 of the seats of women along with a proportional representation for the scheduled caste and tribe. So this budget is very important for the deprived communities because deprived communities always require a special allocation of the budget. Women also play the important role in all intersections like scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Their specific reservation of the seats and budgets are very important to the betterment of women within a society. Following this act, the various state governments passed their own decentralization law known as a Conformity Act. However, many states remain reluctant to the fully transfer power to panchayat, often treating them merely as implicating bodies without a real authority. Despite these challenges, some states have shown the promising result through the successfully decentralization of experiments, highlighting the potential of panchayat as a self-governing institute. With the genuine devaluation and support, the local governance can drive inclusive and sustainable development. Yes, it is very important how the rural budget is relocating and what is their priority and how they are highlighting the requirement for the all sector of society and how the panchayati institutes are working with this. Now, we will discuss about the experiences from the one state like Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, Panchayati Raj institutes were established in 1996 through the Confirmatory Act passed in 1994. Initially, the state was hesitant to delegate the power of Panchayati Raj institutes. However, with the support for Gandhigram Rural University, 58 village panchayat, including 7 Tushmania affected ones, created a village development plan focusing on the human development. This plan emphasized women and child welfare, identified required resources, and detailed local data. Agricultural land use, school facilities, dropouts rate, health, energy, and more responsibilities were assigned to individual and the group with set indicator. The progress goals include 100% school enrollment institutions and deliveries, reduce malnutrition, improve the pre and the postnatal care. These plans evolved into the vision document and shifting responsibilities beyond the government to community level actors. The activities were organized for the effective implementation and social justice. As we can see how the state take initiatives and the state initiatives could support to the local people. So this kind of goal included the all dropout rate, nutrition, which is important in the all aspect of a life, to apply the social justice, equality in the all aspect of society. So how this state take initiative and work towards the betterment of their society, where the higher education institutes support to the Panchayati Raj institution within a state and work to betterment of a society. What is going to be done in the Gram Panchayat through this plan? So what happened and what done by the Panchayati Raj? The holistic development of a village requires a comprehensive and community-driven approach focused on education, health, hygiene, environment, and social welfare. Key initiatives include enrolling all children above 5 years in a school, preventing dropout, and creating a learning-friendly atmosphere with clean water, toilets, playground, and libraries. Early childhood care is strengthened by the enrolling children in Anganwadi, promoting a hygiene, nutrition, and regular health checkup. Women and children's health is prioritized through the awareness on the prenatal and the postnatal care, hospital, deliveries, immunization, and the proper nutrition. The steps are taken to eliminate the female infanticide, child labor, and the child mortality. Equal rights, especially for the women and Dalit, are promoted along with the self-help group for economic development. Efforts are made to improve the infrastructure, solar light, housing, sanitation, water management, and the use of public resources. Environmental initiatives include banning plastic tree planting and promoting the medical plants. The Panchayat become a pupil-centric platform, ensuring full participation, especially of the marginalized group. Yes, what we could see how the Panchayat work through the plan and how they can uplift the living standard of their pupil with initiating a lot of things like basic requirements, like a social requirement, basic requirement like a health and nutrition, social requirement like a female infanticides, and child labor and child mortality. So these are initiated can uplift the life of local citizen all along with the gender perspective. So all what we have learned from this session, a lot of things how the holistic specific environment is working and how it has been creating a platform all with the amenities whatever we have. So in this the Panchayati Raj Institutes is the one of the institutes which work in the all aspect of the phenomena. The social requirement and social understanding about the Panchayati Raj systems with the special focusing on the budgeting and the specific gender budgeting, it is a social phenomena. So to understand the women requirement, to understand the women's structural inequality which women face earlier and women's situation within a society. So we need to understand with the help of education institute, with the help of basic education, with the help of other understanding with the society. This understanding can help us to betterment of a society. When we talk about the women status, when we talk about the women health aspect, we can talk about the women in the initial stage. We talk about the women's need to the nutrition, especially in the rural area. There women always be declined or the not given her preference in her food practices. She always eat to lefted food. So there the economical support from social welfare system or the government makes a significant role in this process. However, the women status within a society still challenging and need to address on the all aspects. So as the government will be able to add the budget in this all contest, so the burden on the family or the decline from the family will be reduced. So in this way we can help the women's health status along with the sanitation in the rural area, especially the menstrual hygiene and other hygiene always neglected. Women are not addressed and support from the family. So there is also the need from the government side, how the government can support. Why the government support required? Because our government is a welfare state. So this is an essential responsibility from the government side to support the women within all structure. Now we can understand how the dropout rate has increasing. So the government are supporting to provide the all facilities within our local bodies, support to the school and other Anganwadi. So their dropout rate can be controlled. And how we can make a learning friendly atmosphere and we can provide them basic amenities like a library. So those who are willing to education, they can gain the education from the library. The books can help them. Now the strengthening the enrolling children is big challenge in a rural area. Their family is not giving the priority to give the education to their children, especially in the subaltern communities like STs and SCs. So there is a lot of challenge in front of the PRI, but with the help of allocation of sufficient budget can promote and can support to the families and education system. So with the help of good food in a Anganwadi, with the help of good midday meal in a schools, can promote or address or the create an interest of a school, and a school can attract to their students. Now we will talk about the women and children health, how it is given the priorities, the post prenatal health of small children and postnatal health. It is very important because it is always neglected, so it increase the mortality rate, so the hospital deliveries are very important. All these facilities required a good financial support in the all sector, but I must like to say the health sector is one of the primary sector where always help required, and the safe deliveries is one of the very important concern. Without that, women cannot be supported from the society. So, or the government, the nutrition, of course, we had talked about the step of taken to eliminate the female infanticides. For this, government along with along with Panchayati Raj institution, there is a need to address or the awareness. Awareness system can help to promote these women's. Why the awareness is required? The female infanticides always required to betterment of these females. So female infanticide and child labor can be addressed. Equal right, especially for the women and Dalit, I discussed earlier and I would like to say again, it is very essential and very requirable. So the holistic development of a village require a comprehensive and community-driven approach, focus on education, health, hygiene, environment and social welfare keys. Initiatives include enrolling all children above the 5 year in a school, preventing dropout and creating a learning friendly atmosphere with a clean water and toilet, playgrounds and library, as we have discussed during our talk. Early childhood care is strengthened by enrolling children in Anganwadi, promoting hygiene, nutrition and the regular health checks. Women and the children's health is prioritized through the awareness or the prenatal and postnatal care, hospital delivery, immunizing the proper nutrition. Steps are taken to eliminate the female infanticide and child labor and child mortality. Equal right, especially for the women and Dalit, and promote along with the self-help groups and economic empowerment. Efforts are made to improve the infrastructure, the solar light, housing, sanitation, water management and the use of public resources. Environmental initiatives include the banning plastic and petroleum. The Panchayat becomes a pupil-centric platform, ensuring the full participation, especially for the women and marginalized group. So, we can understand how the gender budgeting is important if we want to uplift the life of a local pupil, specific for the women at the marginalized group. We need to address, we need to focus on the gender budgeting. This is a good sign. Several state governments are working towards that to update or uplift the budget in the context of gender requirement. So all gender can live happily and can think about the betterment of themselves and society. Thank you.